Doesn't seem to need to be turned on here, which is interesting. Finally, an excellent connection.
Do you have, by any chance, Vindelet's position?
Yeah, same as I gave it to you last time. 17 and 177. Well, a very good evening, everybody. This is a Gulf Harbour Radio. Patricia and David, bang on 0515 UTC. It's the 16th of June. Hard to believe that the year is racing by. But we have a very beautiful night here tonight in Gulf Harbour, and I would suspect the same all throughout the North Island. About time, you might think. Yes, indeed. Clear skies. 17 degrees, a bar of 1012.7, 70% relative humidity. It has tried to rain, but it hasn't today. 10 knots from the west. And clear skies are going to make for a rather brisk evening, I would imagine, but not to worry. We have enjoyed the day. I've had a nice good walk. And we've had some good news from Fiji. Thank you, Charles, for sending that on. I will cover that shortly. Just a bit of a roundup. I don't see any boats that have left New Zealand today. We've got Destiny. I think it's a US catamaran. They're plodding on, going north to Fiji. And they are about 3152 and 174.29. 5.6 knots, so that's not too bad. 026 looks like that's on a course for Savu. There's a couple of boats have left New Zealand. Baghera, they're on their way. They're having a bit of a struggle trying to get west, but currently at 2959 and 16848. 9 knots of westerly, not too much, but still in the not a very good direction for them. But they're doing 4.4 knots on a course of 336 on their way to Mackay. Who else have we got? We've got a few boats heading towards Australia, and the 2 boats that are coming into New Zealand. It looks like Breakaway is not going into Opua. It looks like Breakaway is heading down to at least Whangarei or maybe even Auckland. They're at almost 35 south now, 17523, and they've got our 15 knots of westerly. It's 15 out there, doing 4.3 on a course of 193. So some go, some come, and that's about it. There's a couple of boats heading into Savu, Venture Lady from Great Britain, Jubilate from Great Britain. The Brits are getting out of Britain. They must have got stuck halfway. A few more boats. Imagine, lots of Imagines on the list, but this one's from Panama and that's heading across, but they're way away at the moment, 157 west. And we've got a single-hander, a German single-hander on Aurelia, and he is way over there too, 155 west. So, yeah, and Tanuki, Great Britain. Don't know why they're heading in the direction that they are, but anyway, they're over there too. So, yep, quite a few people around, but a couple have got into Savu. Well, let's have a look at the very important protocol that came out. I've got a copy of it today. Thank you, Charles. Dated 14th of June, and it comes from what they call the COVID-19 Risk Mitigation Task Force, with some good news for people who have so far not been allowed to go ashore, even though they're cleared from quarantine and they have their blue lane flag. Anyway, let's have a quick look through it. You've probably, if you are away there, you would have got this information from your agents, but what I'm going to talk about is what's on it, because there are people interested that are in New Zealand or on their way. You've still got Port Denarau as a customs and clearing port for arriving yachts, as well as Savu. But once the yacht clears at Port Denarau, you can complete some contactless provisioning, and then you may cruise to outer islands. You must, of course, display your blue flag. Now, up until now, you have not been allowed to go ashore anywhere, but now, with that clearance, you are allowed to go ashore, observing COVID-safe protocols. Outside the containment zone, of course, there is still that containment zone in action around the Suva area. But if you're outside of that, you can, and you've arrived in Dinnerau, you can go ashore and partake in various activities, observing the COVID protocol. Now, if you have come in from and done your quarantine in Savu, you can also go anywhere you like in Fiji except Viti Levu. They are keeping, because of all the COVID positive cases there, they're isolating that. So if you've come in from Savu, you can go anywhere you like except for Viti Levu. Now, I know there will be people that have to go to Viti Levu to drop off crew, but that means you have to do a 14-day quarantine and go through that before you can do anything else like get to the airport. So all ports are to continue strict monitoring. All vessels are required to keep their AIS turned on and be visible at all times. And note that if you breach this at any time or any of the rules, like the COVID rules, you may have your vessel seized. So please keep, so that you avoid any problems, make sure you know the rules. If you come into Savu, you can go anywhere except Viti Levu. Anywhere else, make sure you've got your AIS on at all times, and also make sure that when you are ashore, you observe the protocols. All right, what else? Contact list provisioning and fueling requirements. The vessels have to apply directly to the Fiji Navy if you're in the Port Dinnerau area. So that's actually pretty cool. They're doing a really good job of allowing people to move around, provided, and please make sure that you do follow all the rules. You need to have downloaded the Care Fiji mobile app and keep your Bluetooth on at all times, and make sure that you, any further notices like this that come out, that you read them carefully and obey the rules. It's really important for the other people that are coming behind you to not have any problems. So just make sure that you do that. You've got the blue lanes open, and that's absolutely fantastic. So that's what is on, and that's what was issued 14th of June. I'm sure all of you in Fiji have got that because you will have received it from your agents. I have put it, for those that are listening in New Zealand, I have put it on our website. It's on the front page. Just click on read more on the whole COVID section, and it will take you to where you can click that and get that advisory as issued by the folks in Fiji. So really good news. Thanks for being patient, everybody. I'm going to pass the microphone now before I take any questions and comments from anybody to see what the weather is doing.
Yes, good afternoon from the Gulf Harbour Radio Weather Desk. And really pay attention to what Patricia said. There's always one or two cruisers out there that try to get around the rules. And this always seems to happen. But I'll tell you what, the Fiji people are not fooling around. If you wind up doing something that you're not supposed to do, you will absolutely ruin it for everybody behind you. The Fijians will not fool around. If you've been listening for the last few days, you'll recall the synoptic pictures of which the major players have been the complex depressions that began in the Tasman Sea, then having moved over New Zealand, and finally today, where the central zone of at least 3 depressions lie just east of the country. So that's good. Things are starting to move east to get out of the way here. Cyclonic flow is evident from 165 east virtually the middle of the Tasman, to 165 west, which is halfway to French Polynesia. So it is a huge, huge area of cyclonic flow. And even though you're looking at your grids and all that sort of thing, and things do look pretty good, generally, if you have cyclonic flow, I say generally, you can expect periods of inclement weather. It seems to be part and parcel. You'll see a myriad of troughs and fronts that will encompass an area that I would say would be from 25 south all the way down to 60 south. Not that anybody is down there, at least not our cruisers. The fishermen are down there, but our cruisers hopefully are not. Now, between New Zealand and Australia, we find a weak and elongated high, more or less a north-south axis, if you will, and that runs about 160 east, 160 east, almost the center of the Tasman, running north and south. And following this little weak system, if you will, is yet again another complex depression. Now, its axis runs north-south as well, pretty much over the east coast of Australia. So that is the big picture, but of probably more interest is the frontal band that's running east of New Zealand. It goes over Raoul and the Kermadec, and then it goes onward to Vanuatu. So anyone that has left New Zealand quite possibly will run into this. Another trough lies over Tonga. It goes north from there to Wallis and Futuna. It skirts Rotuma, and then it goes on to Tuvalu, maybe just a little bit west of Tuvalu. And yet another trough runs across Samoa. And, I would say, it starts to split the northern and southern Cook. So it goes from Samoa, heads east-southeast, and if you just draw a line between northern and southern Cooks, that's about where the axis of that would be. And finally, another trough runs over the Solomons. And yes, a lot of action in the tropics for sure. Now, for Fiji proper, that trough that I mentioned that's over Rotuma is forecast to drift south over the main Fiji group probably by tomorrow. So expect the usual cloud and showers with easterlies about 15 to 20 knots. Nothing severe in this at all. It looks fairly lightweight, but it is there. And you could expect moderate to rough seas from this as well. I think we'll see lighter air by Friday of this week, right through the middle of next week. Mostly easterly quadrant winds, I would say 10 to 15 knots, and that's especially in the Coro Sea and the Lau. So we'll have to wait and see if that comes true. And if so, very, very nice conditions to move around, and I'm sure those of you that have been stuck are planning to do just that. So that's it from me. That's a general picture, and from here I'll pass it back to Patricia.
All right, well, that's thank you very much, David. It's really, really dusk here now, but the sky has been quite light and no clouds, and it looks quite spectacular. Is there anybody with any additional comments on the Fiji announcement or anything else, in fact, that you want to know about or can tell us? Please call now. The sounds of silence. All right, folks, we'll be back again tomorrow, Thursday. And
does silence have a sound?
Does silence have a sound? Well, That's a very interesting, deep question. We'll have to discuss that over a glass of wine.
Yeah, let's
All
do
right,
that.
that's about it from us, folks. There's not much news from New Zealand, I don't think. Certainly nothing that has stuck in my brain. So have a good night, everybody, and those of you who have been missing contact with people, you'll be able to remedy that in the next few days. Cheers, everybody. This is Gulf Harbour Radio. We'll be clear.
Mm-hmm.